Hello YouTube, this is Alcheminition coming at you with a new deck profile video. Today we have Traimids. This is my Ties of Egypt deck. Yeah, let's get right into it. You know what Traimids do? They keep swapping out their field spells. They restrict your opponent's attacks to just one specific monster, and they do a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Well, without further ado, let's get right into the deck profile. I have some interesting tech choices, and yeah, you guys are gonna, I think, interested. This is one of my favorite decks, this format. Ever since Ties of the Brethren came out, this deck soared. Like, it did so much cool things. Yeah, let's get right into it. Let's get right into the video. Let's start with the main deck. We got 3 copies of Traimid Sphinx. Yeah, Traimid Sphinx. Pretty self-explanatory for a Traimid deck. This thing hops on the field when either one of the field spells is when a Traimid card in general is destroyed, he hops on the field for nothing, and he gains 500 attack and defense for every field spell with a different name in your graveyard. And your opponent cannot target for attacks any other Traimids except for himself, or is it any other rock monster? While you control another Traimid card, this card gains 500 attack and defense for each field spell card with a different name in your graveyard. Also, monsters your opponent controls cannot attack except to attack Traimid Sphinx. So he pre-attacks everybody on your board, not just your Traimids, which is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, and he's a level 10. He's level 10. Just keep that in mind for what we're going to see with the rest of the deck. Alright, we got Traimid Sphinx at 3. He can also be only special summoned by the effect of another Traimid card, so that's important to know. Then we got 3 copies of Traimid Dancer. Traimid Dancer, while she's on the field, you can return a Traimid card to your deck from your graveyard to have all rock monsters on your field gain 500 attack permanently while they're face up on the field. That's quite good. And her 600 attack may be small, but even if you have her on the field in attack position, you're typically even protected thanks to Traimid Sphinx and several different effects. Because when, like, even if like your opponent destroys it by battle, sends it to the graveyard, Traimid Sphinx hops on the field because it was destroyed. So yeah, that's great. Oh, and you might notice a little bit change in video quality. I just recently got a new camera. Yeah, not the most expensive camera on the market, but it's a very good one, and I can use both my hands. Yeah, this is great. I'm loving this new camera. Then we have next, from one of the Traimid monsters, 3 copies of Traimid Hunter. He's really great. He allows you to get a second normal summon in, as well as oh, and I should say, all the smaller Traimid monsters have a secondary effect that allows them to destroy the field spell and activate a field spell from your deck. Which is very good. It makes every card in the deck pretty much a terraforming, and it allows you to swap your field spells in and out to gain multiple beneficial effects during your opponent's turn only, though, which is still pretty good. Stops your opponent's card effects and stuff because of the effects of the fields. Alright, we have them. Then we have a bit of a higher level of monsters, which it would have been so much better if this card was a level 3, but I get why it's level 4. We have Traimid Master. Traimid Master here He's a little different. You can destroy a field spell during your turn, or pop a back row on your opponent's field. Destroy it, which you might not always use. You'll want Traimid Dancer and Hunter on the field for the majority of the time. I mean, they're level 3s. This deck works with level 3s a lot better than it does level 4s. But the level 4 is good to have. I mean, lets you go into some plays. Lets you do some cool stuff. Yeah. That's my Traimid Master. And of course, they've all got the secondary ability, including this one here, to pop a field spell on your side and activate one from the deck during your opponent's turn. Then, we've got 3 copies of Sanctuary, or Century Soldier of Stone. You can just use this effect. You can use this effect once per turn, and only once that turn, and you can special summon him for free from the graveyard. He's got 2,000 defense points, 1,300 attack. So you go into your level 3 plays with him quite often. It's really nice. Like, he's pretty much, you get him in the graveyard, he's an instant rank 3 on turns you can make rank 3s. Pretty much. And he's a rock monster, earth type, so works even better. Now for the one-off monsters, we got 1 block dragon. With the, what is it, Pot of Avidity coming out soon. If you max out a Pot of Avidity, you can actually play this guy at 3, which is what's going to probably happen to this deck. And I'll reprofile it at that point in time when the changes were made. Currently, this deck is being profiled right now because, like, I've hit a spot where I really love this deck, and it's considered complete until, you know, I get new cards come out. Sort of. So, yeah. 1 block dragon for now. Because if you banish your combo pieces, then you can be a little screwed on that one. Another one-off. Level 3 rock monster. 1 Neospatian Ground Mole, because you can only run 1, otherwise this would be probably a 2 or a 3 of. But I like it at 1. Yeah, really great card. Really, really good card. Get this thing here. Non-targeting sort of removal. You can run into a Dark Destroyer and still get his effect. Bounce the Dark Destroyer, bounce this thing. Amazing. It really helps with problem cards. And it's a rock earth monster, so it's like gravy in this deck. It's amazing. Oh, and like my new playmat. Yeah, gonna be the background from now on. My characters from my channel here. The thing is, this is, you know, just characters I designed. If you want the playmat, I could probably look into getting it for sale online. Anywho, let's continue with the deck profile. 1 copy of Glow Up Bulb. Yeah, you can make Nat Beast with it and 1 master. Then you can use it again to bring out Barkion, and then you can like Soul Charge or something to get out both Nat Beast and Barkion to shut your opponent down. You can make a Black Rose with it. You can make a couple of different cool synchro monsters with it. You can make I have 1 level 4 in here that I'll show you. And now for the spell cards. We got 3 copies of Traimid Cruiser. Really amazing card. It's a draw card and search card. When you act like, okay, this is pretty much the card that you go for on your opening moves. And you got like, say, Traimid Hunter on the field, or you like, alright, so you got this, you activate this. Normal summon Traimid Hunter. Draw a card. Use Hunter's effect. Normal, oh, and every time you do this, every time you normal summon a rock monster, Traimid Cruiser gives you an extra 500 life points too. So yeah, you normal summon Hunter with Cruiser on the field. Cruiser, gives you 500 life points, lets you draw a card. So you got Century of Stone. You discard a card after you draw a card. So like discard Century Soldier of Stone. Just for like a cost or whatever. And then say you got a Traimid Dancer in your hand. Normal summon again, thanks to Hunter. Gain another 500 life points. Draw a card. Then you get a discard. So, yeah, you get that's your 2 draws and 1,000 life points a turn if you've got rock monsters to normal summon, or Traimid monsters to normal summon. That is, because you only get the draw card if it's a Traimid monster you normal summon. However, if it's a rock monster, you'll always gain 500. And when it's sent to the graveyard by any means, you just like you search your deck for a Traimid monster and add it to your hand. So what I would do is, like, say I do this, pass it to my opponent, use like Traimid Dancer and or a Hunter's ability, send it to the graveyard in order to activate this card. Traimid King Golem. Traimid King Golem is pretty much how you'll get out Traimid Sphinx most of the time. So like use their effect, send Cruiser to the graveyard. Traimid King Golem, activate Traimid King Golem. Traimid Sphinx, or Traimid Cruiser's effect chains to add Sphinx to your hand. And then you chain Traimid Hunter's effect to send King Golem to the graveyard to activate whatever Traimid field spell you please. And then King Golem's effect will chain special summoning Sphinx. These actually never miss timing, at least not very often, because their effects are very chainable and it's not a when condition, it's an if. So they don't miss timing quite often. There's ways to make them miss timing, but I have never run into it. So I probably wouldn't even be very good at telling you how those ways are to miss timing. Alright, and then we've got, for another field spell, we got 3 copies of Traimid Fortress. This thing here, you'll very rarely use it, just because you'll almost never wind up with Traimids in your graveyard. I mean, you do wind up with them in your graveyard, just not a whole lot of them. Just because typically you can stay on top of your opponent pretty good in this deck, actually, surprisingly. But it's another Traimid name that you can use. It's another Traimid field spell name you can use for their effects if you've already used up these. However, since you can use Dancer's effect, you'll very rarely run out of these, since you just gotta have one of them in the graveyard to benefit Traimid Sphinx's attack gain. Yeah. And then for some other field spells, just because you can make Sphinx get bigger, one Seal of Orichalcos, you'll almost never have it on the field. I've used it on the field a few times, but mostly just like, you know, yeah, you can't really have them as your field spells. You just kind of like get them to the graveyard. They're like discard fodder for Traimid Cruiser on its discard cost thing. And then 1 copy of Ghost Drake's Mansion. Now I'm probably going to switch this for Catapult Zone. It's quite possible very soon, but for right now... Oops, I moved my camera. Oh, man. Alright. And, yeah, but right now it's very good in the deck. This serves its purpose. It gets sent to the graveyard to make Sphinx more powerful. Alright, and then for some non-field spell things, 3 copies of Terraforming. Now, it may seem strange in a deck that runs so many field spells and a deck that runs a lot of cards that let you activate field spells from the deck, but you play 3 Terraforming, they'll never be a dead card. And it's a search thing, And you need to see your field spells. I cannot stress that enough. You need to see them as early as possible. Turn 1, if you do not have a field spell in your hand or a terraforming, you're probably going to have a bad time. Unless if you draw one from your, like, if you're going second, I guess. You need to see them turn 1. Like, you can maybe hold off a few turns, but you need to see your field spells. Alright. 1 Regeki, because monster removal. Typically you can beat over anything, but if they can't be destroyed by battle, you got this thing. 1 Soul Charge, you'll almost never use it, but you can, you have it. Like, it makes you build some unbreakable boards, and some pretty good stuff on that one. And monster recovery, if you're a little behind, if you're behind in your match, then that thing catches you up. Now, one of the cards that brings the entire deck together and makes it so consistent and so good, we have 3 copies of my beautiful Ties of the Brethren. Yeah, not a whole lot to say. Like, you know, you like summon whatever, summon a Traimid level 3. Or a rock monster level 3, you get out this thing, you get out a hunter. Hunter can let you normal summon again. If you want to get off, you get off Traimid. You get off Traimid Cruiser's effect for a second time that turn if you don't open very many Traimid monsters. And it may stop you from special summoning, but then during your opponent's turn when you pass it, typically this will be the last move you make this turn. But yeah, and then you can respond during your opponent's turn with your Traimid monsters, like the Traimid cards you typically bring out with them, and you can swap around your field spells and do some fun shenanigans. Alright, and the last card in the main deck, 3 copies of Pot of Duality. You don't special summon a whole lot. Typically this deck, it would, like, I run into a lot of situations where it conflicts with Ties of the Brethren, but that's not really a reason to not run it, because then you still got to search, you know. You still got a little bit of consistency added with it. Ties of the Brethren and Soul Charge and King Golem are really the only things that make you special summon. And you can trigger King Golem on your opponent's turn, and Soul Charge you only got a 1 of. You know, there's no reason not to run it, really. It helps you catch up. Adds some consistency, gets you some monsters that you require. Alright, that is the main deck for Traimids, Pteramids, whatever you want to call them. I call them Traimids just because it makes a little bit of grammatical sense. Because Pteramids, I don't know. Traimids. It's up to you what you call them. People will correct you forever on their name. Just clean up my main deck. Alright, and now for the sideboard. Or not the sideboard, the extra deck. Synchro monsters. We have 1 Black Rose Dragon. There's 1 card missing from this main deck, or from this extra deck. And yeah, there is definitely 1 monster missing from this extra deck, just because I do not currently own one. I just really wanted to get this deck profile out, okay? Got 1 copy of Barkion. You know, you can get them out by synchroing with a beast and a glow-up bulb, and then you soul charge out the beast, and the beast and Barkion, your opponent cannot use spell and traps, and your opponent cries. We got a copy of Natura Beast, because why would you not? Earth deck, Natura Beast, makes sense. No spell cards for your opponent. We got 1 copy of Underworld Fighter Bullmug. I would run 2 of these just because there's a little fun little loop, but I just don't have the room for it. Like, the fun little loop is if your opponent destroys it by a card effect, you can just bring another one out. bring another one out. If you first synchroed with one into the graveyard, then you have to synchro for another one. And then they just keep swapping, because they can bring themselves back from the graveyard. But since I'm the 1/1 tuner, like, if I can only make a level 4, then I make Bullmug. And then people would think you're like nuts if this was any other deck that you were playing, because this card's never been good. We got 3 copies of Gorgonic Guardian. Such a good card in this deck. Like, it is such a bad card for the most part, but it's such a good card in this particular deck. 1600 attack. Negates monster effects. It's a quick effect. Reduces your opponent's monster's attack to 0. Whichever one you choose. And then during your turn, if your opponent's got monsters with 0 attack, you can just destroy them. Doesn't need Xyz materials for the last effect. Really friggin' good card. Disrupts your opponent's plays. If you've got King Golem on your field... Oh, and I forgot to mention this. King Golem has the effect to... all Traimid monsters that battle... Like, if you battle with a Traimid monster, your opponent cannot activate card effects until the end of the battle step, or until the end of the damage step. And all your rock monsters gain 500 attack. And then you have you have Traimid Fortress, which gives all of your rock monsters 500 defense and stops them from being destroyed by card effects. So you can dodge a lot of things like that. But yeah, you got your Gorgonic Guardian. Monster removal and disrupt your opponent plays. Amazing card. Level 3 rocks. 1 copy of Super Quantal Mech Beast Grenpulse. Grenpulse. Spell and trap card destruction. Big booty. Yeah. Level rank 3, make it easy. Great card. 1, Stringin. When it battles, double its attack. Yeah, by detaching Xyz material. Pretty good for beating over some cards you don't have answers for otherwise. He's pretty much just a beater. This is almost your this is pretty much your Gaga of the game. If your opponent's got less than 2,000 life points left in a field full of big guys, just summon Nightmare Shark, detach, attack your opponent directly for game. Good card. Rank 3. Since you do run level 4s in this deck, we got 1 copy of Castel the Skyblaster Musketeer. What can I say? Monster removal, best kind, shuffle it back to your deck. Shuffle it back to your opponent's deck. 1 copy of 101 Silent Honor Arc. You can make it. It you know, absorbs your monsters. It gets rid of, stops floaters for the most part. Pretty decent monster removal, you know. I recommend playing 1. Now this here is going to go out for a Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, because I like the disruption more than anything. But currently it is a Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon, but it is going to turn into a Black Rose Moonlight. Yeah, Black Rose Moonlight. I forgot that I don't have a Black Rose Moonlight in this deck before I did the deck profile. But, oh well. I don't currently own one, but I will soon. Going to get one this weekend, probably. Then, because you've got level 10s in this deck, and sometimes they wind up doing nothing. So we have 1 copy of Ravenous Tarantula. You make it for a stepping stone to the 7 Sins. The 7 Sins. Yeah, 4K beater. Love it. Like, sometimes you got 2 copies of Sphinx on the field. They're not doing anything. They're not useful to you at that particular time, so you go into 7 Sins and make something useful. Like they got Fiendish Chained or something. Or they got somebody else is playing a Gorgonic Guardian against you, so you go into this. Yeah. Anyways, that's my Ties of Egypt deck profile. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Vanguard, anything card game related videos. I hope you like my new camera, and I hope the audio on this isn't too terribly bad. Yeah, so see you next time. This is Alcheminition signing out.